have. It's not wise to upset a Wookiee.
But sir, nobody worries about upsetting a droid.
That's because a droid don't pull people's arms out of their sockets when they lose. Wookiees are known to do that.
Welcome back to the channel. This is Wes, and let's talk Marvel Comics, Star Wars Vader, Dark Visions #1 by writer Dennis Hopeless and artist Paolo Villanelli. Marvel's Star Wars comic line has been very underwhelming for a long time, and current sales numbers are much lower than anyone should reasonably expect. The one series that has been consistently good are the Darth Vader runs from Kieran Gillen and Charles Soule that began in 2015. They were consistently amongst the best offerings from Marvel Comics period for their entire runs, so the follow-up series has a very high bar set. Vader Dark Visions may have the same title character, but isn't exactly cut from the same cloth as the previous Darth Vader series. Fans coming for a limited run in the style of the previous books are likely to find themselves disappointed. Issue 1 is a one-shot, and while it's fun, it feels more like fan fiction than the well-developed story arcs and insights to Vader the previous series provided. That being said, it is fun, and new customers are likely to come away satisfied with the issue. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Vader Dark Visions replaced the Shadow of Vader series announced in September 2018 that was to be helmed by Star Wars novelist Chuck Wendig. Wendig had a very combative relationship with the Star Wars community and would often get into long, ferocious debates with them on social media. This culminated in a very offensive tirade following the confirmation of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, in which he told customers to lick excrement from his boot heel, among other things. On 13 October he tweeted, "So here's the thing that has happened. I just got fired from Marvel, taken off issues 4 and 5 of Shadow of Vader, and taken off an as-yet announced Star Wars book. In fact, Shadow of Vader was scrapped entirely shortly thereafter, despite issues 1 and 2 being completed, and Marvel eventually announced Vader Dark Visions as its next Vader-centric miniseries." With that, let's get into the issue and talk about Paolo Villanelli's artwork. I personally like the art in the series a lot. Paolo has a great visual style for the Star Wars universe. A majority of the book takes place on an unnamed planet, and he does great work filling the world out and gives it great details, even if it doesn't look too foreign from our own. There are a few pages of a space battle occurring above the planet, and these are amongst the most exciting in the entire book. I could look at full issues of this kind of action all day, and I really hope Villanelli gets more opportunities to illustrate these kinds of battles. He appears to be born to draw Star Wars space warfare. I will note that the artist does overly rely on double splash pages throughout the book, and there are 6 in total. Paolo does a great job drawing Vader, and he gets several very cool action poses that admittedly make him look badass. This illustration of Vader atop a villainous looking steed with his lightsaber drawn is admittedly cool, but kind of demonstrates my point about this feeling like fan fiction. It almost feels like Hopeless wanted this cool visual in the book and wrote the story to make it happen. Of course, I can't fault the artist on that, and he does great with the job at hand. I rate the artwork in Vader Dark Visions a 4.5 out of 5. While the artwork is the strong point of the book, the overall characterization might be its weakest. I wouldn't even say any of the characters get any development. What's provided is mostly exposition to set up the conflict after Vader arrives on planet. An unnamed alien has come to the surface during a brief time to harvest food. He explains that his people could only return to the surface during the slumber, and explain that his planet was destroyed. The character at one point is watching the space battle and seems to have limited understanding of what is occurring. This doesn't make much sense, as he rides around on a hover droid named Raz, so his culture has technology. Eventually the young alien gets a glimpse of Vader, and it's obvious he's never heard of him or his reputation. He describes the Sith Lord as a black knight emerging from heavenly flame. The character also describes him like a savior arriving, and it's revealed shortly after why he would see Vader as an angel rather than demon. It's revealed that Vader has woken the Ender, an enormous shark-like monster that rules the planet. The alien describes the Ender as wiping out whole armies in a day. It's said to have yanked great warships from the sky and bit them in half, and swallowed bombs like they were cherries. Almost all the book's characterization is done through exposition, although the Ender is in action for a large portion of the book. Oddly enough, one character that receives no development is Vader himself, the character we paid $4.99 to read about. That's probably the biggest failing of the book, and I'll give the character work a 1.5 out of 5 overall. The plot by Dennis Hopeless is certainly better than his character work, but doesn't live up to the quality of the art either. The plot is very simple but enjoyable. After we are introduced to the aliens and learn they live underground to avoid the destruction of the Ender, we move to the space battle above the planet. Vader is mowing down rebels when one spots him and flies at his TIE fighter kamikaze style, damaging the vehicle, forcing Vader to land on the planet's surface. Vader happens to land directly on the Ender, awaking it from its slumber, sending the aliens fleeing to their underground tunnels. Our narrator stays to watch the Black Knight battle the Ender tooth and nail. The battle lasts for 15 pages in total and has some great visuals like the previous one of Vader mounted on a steed in battle. Eventually, Vader emerges victorious as our narrator describes him as the savior who has freed the planet. Little does he know he's about to come face to face with the second most evil man in the galaxy. He thanks his hero, and Vader raises his lightsaber and responds, "You should not thank me, child." As Vader is about to confront the alien, the rest of his fleet arrives to recover him and tells the child, "The Force is with you today." Overall, the plot is fine, but like I've previously mentioned, this feels way more like good fan fiction than the quality writing fans have been accustomed to during Marvel's previous Vader series. I'll give Hopeless's plot a 2.5 out of 5 overall. This was a rushed production after Wendig was fired, and all his previous work on Shadow of Vader was scrapped, and Marvel moved on to Vader Dark Visions. I honestly expected the art to suffer much more from a contracted production cycle, but it seems the writing suffered the most. This is a fun one-shot story, but doesn't really fit in with Marvel's previous Vader series, and doesn't add to the character or mythos much, if at all. I'll rate Vader Dark Visions Issue 1 a 2.5 out of 5 overall, and give it the mildest recommendation possible. This is not at all what I expected from the series, and I honestly don't think I'll continue with it after this issue. I do believe fans of the Vader character who haven't read their previous Gillen and Sewell runs will appreciate it more than those that have. In the end, this feels much more like quality fan fiction, and I hope Marvel finds a new direction for the character so future series can live up to the high standards previously set. Of course, these are just my takes. What's yours? Did you enjoy Vader Dark Visions Issue 1? Do you prefer the one-shot miniseries format to the previous Darth Vader series runs? Will you continue through Issue 5? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.